Okay. Trying again. Seems like it's working now. We good? Seems like it's working better on my end. So you guys just let me know if it's working. Okay. All right, Gabe, you can come over here. Okay, good. We're all on the same page now. Sorry about that. I'm old. Okay. So welcome everyone. We've been doing a little bit of inversion play here. So it's already past 3, so I'll just go ahead and get started. I have a few things here that you can use as you're playing along or as you practice later. So I have a blanket, or you can also use socks. I have a block, and then a strap. But I don't have my strap here because it's at the studio and I haven't been there. So I have this bathrobe tie, but it works just the same. And then a chair I have over here, or some sort of stool or something that we'll use later. So one thing about inversions I want you to remember is that inversions are fun to play with and there's a lot of health benefits to them, but they take a lot of time, patience, and practice, which is perfect because we have tons of time right now, all the time in the world, to play around with our inversions. So I'll offer you guys a few kind of drills, tips, and tricks, and it might be hard to kind of do it live with me, but you can always go back and rewatch, practice these at home, and then send me any questions that you might have. So I thought we'd start with headstand. So anyone from beginner to advanced can work on these. I'm going to use my son, Gabe. Come on. He's going to come here and help me demonstrate beginning headstand. So he's athletic, he wrestles, but he doesn't do a lot of yoga, so he's a beginner. So first thing we need to understand about headstand is it's about stacking the hips over the shoulders. In all inversions, it's getting that straight line. Once we get the hips stacked over the shoulders, balance makes it so much easier. So what I often see in classes, hey guys, Eric, what's up? Hey. What I often see in classes is like the kick and pray method, right? From headstands to handstands or anything, right? We're here and we're like, handstand. Everyone's like, yay, yay, yay. And we have no control. And it's fun. It's really fun to jump around. It's good cardio, but we're not really going to advance anywhere with our inversions. So go ahead, go back, Gabe. We're getting there. Sorry, I'm getting wordy. But where I started was with headstand. I started with my tripod headstand and then to the basket headstand. And then I started working with forearm balance and then handstand. That was a process of like 7 years though, so keep that in mind. So for headstand, Gabe's gonna start here kind of like we're coming into our crow pose for tripod headstand. Hands are gonna plant down on the ground. Yeah, really engage to the fingers, really open those palms up wide. And then go ahead and drop your head. We're gonna start to walk the feet up until they come onto the backs of the triceps here. And then from here, this is where I'm talking about the hips being stacked over the shoulders. So as he lifts up, we want this nice line here. I want him to stay here. Keep your knees onto your elbows for right now. Right here. I want you to keep that balance there. Go ahead, go up again. Now from here, I want to see if you can bring your knees together and hold them right here. This is the hardest part of your headstand, right here, holding this, okay? Keeping this line. Now, if you're stable here, then you can extend the legs up, nice and long. Good. See, Gabe's got it. And there's gonna be probably a lot of bloopers here. I may fall over, he may fall over. But the hardest part of the headstand, you can come back, Gabe, is holding that balance right here. So we're coming into like a crow, we're holding here, and then getting the legs to right here and holding. This is the hardest part. Extending the legs from here doesn't even need to happen until you can hold this here. And then you can slowly start to extend the legs. And what might happen is you might roll out like Gabe did. You can also practice against the wall too, if you're worried about the falling over. But one more time. I want to show them Gabe one more time. So approach all these inversions with a sense of curiosity and playfulness. Like, I have fallen a million times. I've knocked this lamp. I've knocked over a ton of things. So the nice thing about us all being locked up right now is we can practice some of these things on our own without worrying about being in the middle of a yoga room. All right, so go ahead. Knees to the back of the triceps. Okay. I'm going to help him a little bit here, right here, so he gets this line. Squeeze those knees together and then extend the legs up. So if you have a partner at home, they can kind of help so you have this nice straight line. Good. Now, try and lower the knees back down. Tuck them into the chest and try to bring the knees back to the elbows. Good, because I'm going to show you another trick from here. Nice. You can go ahead and release the feet back to the ground. Good job. Good job. High five for Gabe. Being a good sport. All right, so you'll notice his face was kind of red. So one thing about being in the tripod headstand is there's a lot more weight on your head. Hey, Tanya and Audrey. Hey, Lisa. So it's good for beginners to start there, but if you want to hang out in your headstand for a while, you're going to want to work on the basket headstand because there's a lot less weight on the head. You can put more weight into the arms and it can kind of be a restorative place. So that's the beginner version there. If you want to work on just that, for me, that helped me a lot, learning how to control my balance and get my hips stacked over my shoulders. And I worked with that against the wall before I started just kicking up because that helped me learn the control going into pincha and then into handstand. So a fun place to play from here is, I know I've showed a few of my teacher trainees, they've done this. If you have a strong headstand practice and you can do tripod, so we'll do it just the same. Knees to the back of the tricep, head comes down. Bring those knees in first, extend the legs up high. So stay here for a few breaths, and just like Gabe did, we're going to bring those knees back to the triceps and see if we can lift up to crow from here. So we're in our crow, we're holding, we're breathing or squeezing, and then maybe we can drop back down into our headstand. Lift those legs up and repeat if you'd like. That drill really helps you feel that core control that's needed for most inversions. So the next step from here, if you're working on the basket headstand, we'll go through a few of my favorite drills from there. So to get your hands in position, I like to use a block. For this, also the same position I like to use for forearm balance. So placing the block out in front of you, open your hands as such, placing them right here. So this is about the distance you want the elbows. Then remove the block. You can also just cross the elbows here. From here, we're gonna bring those hands together, interlace the fingers, and make a little basket here. So we're gonna open up those palms a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see me. Yeah. So from here, you can come onto the knees, drop the head. We want the crown of the head to be on the ground. And then from here, we can pike those hips coming into that kind of downward facing dog position here. Begin to lean the weight into the arms. You can just practice lifting one foot and then the other from here. Or as you begin to stack those hips over the shoulders, you can bring a knee in, then the other knee, and again, hold here. This is the hardest part of your headstand, right here. So you can just work on those drills. Let me see this. Okay, or we can start to work on pressing up with straight legs. So again, we're coming into our basket position here. Head comes down, we're piking the hips up. We're gonna start to walk up on those tippy toes as far as we can go until we are almost stacked hips over shoulders. Once they're stacked, it's almost like the legs are weightless. Okay, then we can begin to rise up. Again, here, there is not a lot of weight in my head. It's mainly in my forearms here. That's why we can just hang out here. This can be a restorative place even once you learn the balance. Okay, cool. So I know a lot of you have a strong headstand practice. So there's a few fun places to play from that basket headstand. It's really fun for me because you can work your core from here. It's a lot more fun than doing your standard crunches. So from here, same thing. Tiptoe, lift those legs all the way up. And then from here, with your breath, see if you can lower those legs to that pike position. Keeping those legs nice and straight. Inhale, see if you can rise them back up to the sky. So just taking a few of these here is a great way to learn how to control that core and stack those hips over the shoulders. All right, and then Next thing we can play with is a wide-legged straddle headstand. What I'm gonna do is kind of, you can walk by, tuck my feet back and forth in that straddle position. So it's a little bit of oblique and core work. I'm gonna check comments. Yes, lots of laugh and play with these inversions. I love it. So let me see if I'm gonna do it this way. So we're coming up into our headstand. You can come up the regular way, or you can just bring legs straight out into a straddle. And maybe we just play with this balance here. From here, maybe we begin to talk those feet back and forth, just taking these little taps here. Okay, this takes a lot of core and oblique control, but it's a lot more fun than crunches. Nice. So, a few more things to play with in our headstand that might help us with stacking that stack I was talking about. This is where we can use a chair or a stool here. So I've got a chair here. Can you guys see that? So you can do this in headstand or forearm stand or your handstand. It'll even work for it. So deciding if you want to be in headstand or maybe your pinch up or even your handstand, for those of you that have a handstand practice. I'm going to do a headstand here though, so I can show you. So come to that position, getting close to the chair, step one foot and then the other up onto the chair. So we're going for that 90-degree angle, that L shape here. Breathe in here, and then we're going to lift one leg at a time. Just kind of get a feel for that. So with the support of the chair, it's a little bit easier to feel that nice stacked line. And then if you're ready, you can lift both legs up. And you've got that chair there to kind of fall back on. All right, so that's fun. All right, guys, I'm gonna take a drink of water. Oh, yay, Ashley. Yeah, you can so do it. Okay, here's another fun one to play with for core. So for this one, I call these zombie presses. I don't know what they're really called, but you can use a blanket or a towel. Or if you're on a soft, smooth floor and not carpet, you can just wear socks. So I'll show you both ways. Make sure you guys can see that, where you're at. So I'm gonna use a blanket first. It's gonna come out beyond our mat. We're gonna lay down on our mat here. So arms are down on the mat. Kind of in that basket headstand shape, because that's where we're going. So over here, we're gonna lay down, or we can just stay up in the forearms as we begin to squeeze those legs up into that pike position, just like we had on the chair. So it's kind of that same drill here, but we have less height here. So the core is working more. So working on that stack, sliding back and forth. Again, you can do this in pincha. I can't quite press into pincha yet, or even handstand. I can't quite get there yet though. So that's with the blanket. I'll show you with socks how it can be done. Get my socks on. So, from here with the socks, you can lay all the way prone from here. And inhale, begin to drag those forearms up, bringing the legs up and lifting the legs. Again, you're gonna want your no sleeves on here. And on your mat on the floor, you're going to want that traction between your arms and the floor. It's kind of a cool trick to play with if you've already got your press from headstand. So again, just drawing up, coming into that basket headstand shape, and then the legs lift. Just like so. All right, let's see if you guys have any questions before we go on. So again, if you guys later have questions about any of these headstand variations, or as we move into forearm drills, just message me here on SoulShine page. So for those of you that are working on pincha or your forearm balance, I have a few drills. But again, I stuck with my headstand until I was able to hold that basket headstand for at least a minute. But I was able to freely stand there where it felt restorative, and I could again get that get that pike position, that feeling of the hips stacked over the shoulders. That really helped me in my pinch up practice, which honestly forearm balance to me was a little bit harder than even handstand, because there's so much shoulder flexibility and openness that we need to understand, even when we've got the balance. So for me, what really helped with some of these drills, I know not a lot of us like dolphin, but it's a really great way to get our shoulders ready for pinch up. So from our downward facing dog, I know sometimes we'll drop one elbow and then the other and come into our dolphin, but what I started working on was dropping both at the same time and pressing back up. So my hands aren't moving, I'm just dropping and pressing back up. I did forget to mention, guys, though, that make sure you're warmed up before you do any of these inversions. You've done maybe a 20-30 minute flow, or at least you've done some sun A's, sun B's, a little bit of forward folding back bends, so you're warmed up and ready to go before you move into these kind of drills. So again, from here, just in my downward facing dog, I'm going to inhale and then exhale, try to drop both the forearms down to the ground into my dolphin. And just taking a few of these reps. It can be really intense, but it really helps you train the shoulders here for that position that you're going to need for your forearm balance. This next one, dolphin push-ups, I've done in a few of my classes. Quick way to burn out the shoulders and train them again for your pinch up practice. So from here, lower those forearms down. See if you can walk those feet in just a little bit closer toward the elbows. Breathe here. As you exhale, we're going to drop the nose down to the floor in between those hands and press back up. Trying to keep those shoulder blades spread wide as you press down and back up. It doesn't take many of these to get intense. I'm already sweating. So here's another good one. Take a break from that afterwards, maybe rest in a child's. And then the next step from here, we come right back to that dolphin pose. And then we want to work on walking those feet in closer towards the elbows. That's just one step here. That may be enough for you. Next step is lifting one leg or the other. And just playing with this balance here. Just dolphin requires a lot of shoulder strength and openness. So be gentle and patient with yourself. It took me a long time to get to where I could actually hold a pinch up. And actually, holding a forearm balance to me is easier than doing those drills. So just keep that in mind. That's hard work. So a few things that really helped me in my forearm stand practice. You guys can see I'm sweating. Hey, Sarah. So, before I got my forearm stand down, it's still not great. I can't press yet, but I did an Instagram challenge. That was the way I learned, because it made me do it every day. I was practicing probably an hour every day on my pincha. I wouldn't have learned it just from going to classes and playing around with it. I had to take the time, practice, and a lot of falling over at home before I got it. But to train my shoulders to kind of stay in this position, the best tool I found was a strap. So again, the hands don't have to be completely like this shape, parallel here, as that's very hard as you come up into your pincha. Usually the elbows are going to want to splay out and the hands are going to want to come together. So to me, if I'm just playing around for fun in my pincha, it's easier to bring my hands together, kind of in this position, like I'm in a headstand, and that's fine too. But just for me, when I was working on stability and training my shoulders, the best thing I found was a strap, and I placed it around my upper tricep just as so. So I kept it at that distance, again like we did the headstand, about that block distance here. So just like so, that's about the distance that we would want our hands apart. And that's where I place the strap, so it's nice and tight. It's holding my tops of my arms together here. So I'll show you real quick how I use that in my practice. I'm hoping this bathrobe back is gonna hold. We'll see. You gotta make do with what you have. So I'm coming up into my dolphin. I'm walking those tiptoes up first to try and get those hips as much over the shoulders as I can before I lift that leg. I'm gonna lift one leg or the other, and bring up the other. So with this strap, something about it just helps me feel more stable. As you can see without it, I'll try it without it now. My elbows are gonna start to splay out more. My hands are gonna come closer together. A little bit more tricky with my balance here. So I practice a lot with this strap. And I even used it when I was working on handstand. It really helped train my shoulders to stay where they're supposed to stay for my pinch up. And again, you can use the same drill with a chair for your forearm balance, coming up into your forearms, lifting one leg at a time. Do you guys have any questions or anything else you would like to see for inversions? Before I go, I'm giving you guys a few things to play with. We can, maybe another time I can do another one working on more handstand drills. See if I covered everything here. So with just simple things around the house, there's a lot of stuff that you can play around with. Socks, blocks, chairs. Okay, good. Oh, one more thing I forgot with headstand play. So there is, I told you guys about the tripod to start there, and then your basket headstand. There's one more variation that's kind of fun to play with. Let's hope I don't fall over. But your hands are gonna be, the backs of your hands are gonna be on the floor. So I'll show you. And it looks crazy, but honestly, the weight is going into the backs of your hands, and it kind of works if you already have those other two variations. So going into your normal headstand stance here, piking those hips, we're gonna place the tops of the hands down, take my ring off, down onto the floor, just as so. I'm gonna take all my jewelry off here. So wide V hands, really press the back of those wrists into the floor here. And then we're gonna begin to lift the feet from here into your headstand. It seems like it doesn't work, but for some reason, if you have the balance, your weight is in the back of those wrists. And it just does. And it looks cool. Something to play with. All right, guys. I'm gonna sign off, but if you have, my hair's crazy. If you have any other questions or anything else you'd like to see, just feel free to let me know. Otherwise, see you later.